Hey everybody, thanks for another Unity tutorial. In the last video we looked on how to make an AI patrolling controller, so the enemy will patrol left and right depending on the speed you picked. So if I pick like 3, the enemy will move really fast, going from its minimum to maximum value and back and forth if I enable that script. So it'll move left and right in this specific area that you set up. And it's really easy to add the script to something else too. In this video I'm going to be adding an AITargetController. It shows up because I was already trying to do this before. And so yeah, all you have to do is create a new script and then call this AITargetController or whatever you want to call it. And what this is going to do is make it to where if the player, or basically the enemy, is going to target where the player's position is. So in this script I'm going to make some references. I'm going to do one to the speed, so I'm going to do public speed float. And I'm going to call this speed. I'm also going to create some private variables, so private, and I'm going to call this one SpriteRenderer, and I'm going to call this EnemySprite, and I'm also going to create one for the transform of the player, and then I'm going to make some references. And actually, instead of doing this transform, I'm going to do gameObject. And then I want it to be to where player is equal to the GameObject.FindObjectWithTag, so it finds the object with the specific tag, and we're going to have to add this tag onto the player, and then make this tag be named player. Then I also want the EnemySprite to be equal to the GameObject.GetComponent, and I want this component to be the sprite renderer off of this GameObject. Then in the update method, I want to make it to where if the EnemySprite.flipX is equal to true, false. I'm going to do false first. Then I want to do this, and basically flipping along the X is just doing this, so basically if flip is enabled along the X-axis, it's going to be flipped to the left. If it's not flipped, then it's going to be facing the right. So I want it to be to where if it's false, so basically it's facing the right, I want it to move the enemy, so I want to transform .position, and I want it to plus equal a vector 3. Now speed is a float, not a vector 3, so I need to add it into a vector 3, so I'm going to do vector 3, and I'm going to call this EnemySpeed. I'm going to make it equal a new vector 3. I'm going to make it be speed along the X multiplied by Time.deltaTime, and 0 along the Y and 0 along the Z. Then I want to make it plus equal the EnemySpeed. Now I'm going to copy this and paste it down below. But instead of it being false, I want it to be true, so if it's facing left, I want it to make the player go in a negative direction, because left is a negative direction by the EnemySpeed, and EnemySpeed is speed along the X value. So whatever we set the speed to being when I save the script, it will move in that speed. Now I need it to be, because now it'll move left and right depending on what I make the flip being along the X-axis, so which way it's facing. But I also need to actually target the player, because yeah, if I save the script and then go out and then set up the speed to being something like the 3, and then click play, the enemy is going to move in this direction at a rate of 3, and it'll keep on moving because I don't have the maximum and minimum value set up on this one. But then if I flip it, it'll move in the other direction, so depending on which way I flip it, it'll move in that direction. So now I need to set it up to where it'll actually track the player's position. So I need it to be to where the player's position, so I need to do player EnemySpeed.transform.position, and then along the x value, or x-axis, I want it to be, so basically if that is greater to, or greater than, and I also want to put this in an if statement, and I want it to be to if that along the x value is greater than the enemy's position, so I need to do transform.position.x. I want to do this, so basically if it's on the right side, because right side would be greater, I want the enemy to be not flipped, because I want it to be facing that direction that you were in. So I want it to be false, or I want the enemy sprite to be false. Then I want to do the same thing, but then be less than. Then I want the enemy sprite to be equal to true. So now, if I save the script and then go out, what it's basically doing is making it to where if the enemy is facing in this direction, it'll move in that direction. If it's facing the other direction, it'll move in that direction, whatever direction it's facing. But then, if the player's position is less than, meaning that, like, let's say the enemy's position was 0, if you're on the left side, you're going to be a negative number, so you're going to be less than that position. So then it's going to be flipped in that direction, meaning it's going to move in that direction that you are. But then if your position is greater than, meaning that it's in a positive direction on the other side of him, the enemy is going to be flipped in that direction, meaning it's going to move in that direction that it's flipped. So now I'm going to click maximize then play. And now, sorry for that cut, I just realized something. It wasn't working because I need to add the tag, so I need to add a tag. Well, actually, it's already there, actually. So if I go to player, you need to add the player tag onto it, because I set it up to find the player, or find an object with the player tag, so I actually need to add the player tag, so that's why it wasn't working. So now if I click play, now the enemy is going to move in the direction that I am in. See, now it's moving towards me. If I run over it, then it's going to start moving this direction, and it'll keep on doing that. The only thing is you would have to set up maximum and minimum values, which we can go in another video, because if I go to one side, and then keep on moving off, you didn't get to see it, but it would keep on moving. So, thanks for joining me for this episode. Join me next time where we're going to be going over how to set it up to patrol until you get to a certain distance, then it will start following. See you in the next video.